Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Supriya Suji. I'm the president of MSO. This has been an amazing week. We're so grateful for everyone coming to our lectures. Today's the last day of our Islam Awareness Week, and it's going to be about love for your spouse. Today we have Dr. Mohammed Sadiq speaking. He's a clinical psychologist based here in Edmonton. He received his master's and doctoral degrees in behavioral and clinical psychology from the United States, and he's been practicing for about for the last 33 years. He's worked with people of all ages suffering from various emotional, mental, behavioral, and family problems. He's also been working with various Muslim communities in North America, providing individual, marriage, family, and youth counseling. He also teaches and conducts seminars and workshops for Muslims across North America, for Muslim communities and professionals in training. He currently has his own private practice called Shifa Psychological Services. About midway, around 6:45, we'll take a break for around 10 minutes. If you have any questions, please leave them till the end, and please keep them on topic. If you don't feel comfortable with raising up your hand, we'll pass around some papers and we'll take them from you. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Mohammed Sadiq.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you all hear me okay? I'm just going to, let me just start with a prayer and then inshallah we'll do a bit of introductions. Nahmadullah al-Azim, Nusalli ala Rasulih Kareem, Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'een, Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم اسلمنا من الشيطان الرجيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So today's topic is, as you heard, love between spouses. Romantic love. Thank you so much. This is my first time doing this kind of workshop. I love love and I'm a very romantic type. So this was right down my alley. Now, before I go, can I request all of you, for the sake of love, to come close and sit close, because if you're all over the place, you won't be able to talk. It's going to be a mutually interactive workshop. So you'll be talking to me and I'll be talking back. So that's what love is about. Come close and get together close.
Sorry, I'm really sorry.
Thank you. I was pleasantly surprised when Sabriya called me and gave me this topic. Most of the time, people call me and talk about problems. How to solve this problem, how to solve that problem. You know, we're having this issue with the marriage, we're having this issue with our kids. Please come help. This is, therefore, a great topic. A nice change for me, dealing with the problems all the time. Now I understand that you've been hearing about love for the last 4 days. I hope you feel enough love now in this room. We are going to talk about love again. Maybe you've not heard this perspective before, but some of it you might have. And then we'll switch into the love between spouses. So here's the deal. I'm not going to go through a lot of introduction about myself, but just quickly, like you heard Sabriya saying, I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been actually now in practice for very close to 40 years. And have worked in all kinds of fields of psychology, all different aspects of psychology. I retired in 2000, which means I don't work for anybody else anymore. I went into my private practice, which is what I do now. My private practice is in Edmonton, as well as around the world, over the internet using Skype. So I have people that I help, families that I help around the world. Besides that, I do professional training workshops for upcoming Muslim professionals and other professionals who work with the Muslim communities to help them learn how to apply what they have learned to the Muslim communities effectively, understanding their culture and their faith. And also I do workshops for the communities. And those workshops are geared towards a few objectives. Number one, raising the awareness of the Muslim communities about the increasing social and family and personal problems that we are having now. Actually, I got an early retirement back in 2000 just for that purpose, because in the institutions that I was working in, I was finding out that more and more Muslim families and Muslim youth were coming in for mental health services, and there were no appropriate professionals who knew the culture, the faith, as well as the field to be able to serve them properly. So I took an early retirement, and I have been in practice since 2000. Okay, having said that, the topic today is very dear to my heart, because I think it is through love that truly lots of problems individual with, be they individual, interpersonal, communities, families, global, can be saved, can be solved if people truly learn to love themselves and love others. But the difficulty is that most people don't even know what love is. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Let me start with one verse of the Holy Quran that talks about love between the husband and wife. And that would be our base for further discussions also. Let me just recite that verse for you. It is a verse from Surah Al-Rum, which is chapter 21, verse number 30. And I'm just going to read the translation. The Arabic version is up there. And among his signs is that he created for you from among yourselves spouses that you may live with, that you may live with her in peace and tranquility. And he has set love and mercy between you. Surely in that are signs for those who reflect. Pay attention to the combining of love and mercy. Understanding love, it is required that you understand mercy. If you don't understand mercy properly, and if you don't practice mercy, your love won't last. That's why when Allah created a man and a woman, He put love and mercy in their hearts. I'm going to talk about that verse in a little while, but keep that thing in mind. That is our guiding principle for a lasting love between husbands and wives, between spouses. Having said that, it is now time for all of us to talk. What is love all about? What makes one fall in love? And what makes one fall out of love? Anybody can talk. I need to pick your brains to find out where you're at about these things. There's no right and wrong answer, so don't worry about it.
Sorry, what was the question? I wasn't paying attention.
3 questions.
Oh.
They're on the board. What is love all about? What makes one fall in love? What makes one fall out of love?
It's about understanding the other person.
Allow?
It's about understanding. Understanding the other person.
Understanding the other person.
Yeah, and finding similarities.
Understanding the other person and finding?
Similarities.
Similarities. Okay. So understanding the other person and finding similarities is what love is all about. Okay. What makes one fall in love, therefore?
The attraction.
So I would, from your answer, I would guess that if you understood somebody, right?
Well, you're not going to understand them right away. You're going to talk to them.
So when you gradually understand somebody
Right.
more and more, right?
You learn to like them.
Then you learn to like them, and then you fall in love, right? But then why would you fall out of love?
Because we were deceived by how they thought, by how you thought they were. Opposite.
So you didn't properly understand before.
Yeah, you gotta
Okay.
be sure of what you like. You gotta know them very well before you make the decision
Sure.
to know them.
I got you. Okay, who else wants to try? Give us a yes, sister.
Connection between you don't relate to each other or just completely hate each other. You won't be able to make a proper connection. I don't know.
So what would make you connect?
Really at your interests and just where you think on different levels. I lost my thought, sorry.
That's okay, yes, sister.
Okay, so I think love is about sacrifice, compromise.
Sacrifice and compromise.
Yeah.
Love is all about sacrifice and compromise. Okay.
So I think it's like kind of like putting the other person's happiness, like not per se like before yours, but at the same time giving instead of just taking.
Okay. So what would one make fall out of love?
One person just gives and the other person just takes.
Okay. So if the sacrifices mutually is not there, compromises are not there, then people fall out of love. Okay? Yes, okay.
Genuine love is connected to a purpose, like Al-Sadana or
Genuine love is connected with the purpose.
to a purpose.
Okay? Yes.
Emotional connection, trust, and respect.
Emotional connection, trust and respect. Wow, that's great.
You break any of those, you'll fall in love.
Okay, so those are the things required to fall in love. And when those are lost, then somebody will fall out of love. Gotcha. Who else? Yes, Sister Ben. Allow.
Fulfilling each other's cup, like the rights that you have upon each other. If you fulfill that, then your love will be sustained. And if you don't fulfill that, then you guys will basically fall out of love because you're not giving each other the rights that they deserve.
Okay, so as long as people fulfill each other's rights, they will stay in love.
Yeah, like rights in Islam.
Right, exactly. Okay. Who else? Guys, what do you guys? How come you're silent?
I don't think you want to get married.
Guys are always silent, by the way. It's always the sisters who participate and speak up, and the guys remain silent. They are even in smaller numbers always. Now, why is that, do you think? Why is that, guys? Say it again.
They're always wrong.
Because they're always wrong. Ah, so that's why they stay out so that people
You're still outnumbered right now.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's way too many of them.
No, truly, yes.
I think love is about attraction, whether it's physical attraction, attraction to the personality, attraction to your interests, and when that attraction wears away the result. I really don't know. I've never been in love, so I don't know. What I think
It's so sad for you. Okay, who else?
Estrogen?
Say it again.
Estrogen. Then I counter with testosterone.
Right, hormones.
I'll last for a minute.
Right. Okay, we'll come to all of it, yes.
Has more to do with mercy.
Say it again.
It has more to do with showing mercy.
It has more to do with showing mercy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Who else?
I think part of what makes people fall out of love is the distractions in society, right? So if a man is bombarded with images of other women or goes to work, sees other women, compares them to his wife, or vice versa, right? Just sometimes the distraction, right? That's why we have the hijab for men as well, where they have to lower their gaze, because we know that things that the eye looks upon could distract you.
Sure.
So it could be something like that.
So when a man or a woman is distracted and attracted to somebody else, because attractions are all around us, then that could make them fall out of love with the person they're married to.
Yeah.
Okay? Who else? Yes.
I think there's different kinds of love, and there's different phases to love. Like if we're talking about specifically romantic between a man and a woman, at the start, the love is more physical. You don't really know about the person, you're interested in them, you hear stuff about them, and then when you get to know them, it becomes maybe emotional or mental.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's a different kind of love. It might take you higher, it might take you lower, you're not that interested in them more, but that might make you love them more, but you fall out of love with them because love takes work. It's not easy. Like it's not something you just fall into. Like you have to actually make an effort at it. And when you stop making the effort or you take the other person for granted, then that's when you start falling out of love or start getting distracted or not noticing them as much anymore.
Okay, gotcha. Anybody else?
It could also be like some of the people prioritize customs and traditions and backgrounds, and some of the people go based on the deen, right, religion. So if one gender is going off of customs and traditions, the other gender could be pissed off on the wall. Their background is more religious than the traditions.
So in other words, if they're not on the same page about their values,
Yes.
then they may fall out of love. Okay, gotcha. Anybody else? Okay, that's fine. Like you noticed, love is hard to describe because it feels so different with people. Everybody, each one of us loves and experiences love in a very different way. And that's why it is hard to define in one specific way. Also, remember one thing very important if you've not already heard about it before. Love is an emotional state. And because it is an emotional state, like any other emotion, it cannot be really defined in a specific way. For example, anger, depression, jealousy. Take any of these feelings. Happiness. You'll be surprised if you ask somebody, if you ask a bunch of people what makes you happy, there'll be as many answers as there are people. Because you experience happiness in so many different ways. And what makes one happy makes the other sad, or vice versa. Similarly, what makes one person loved, the same thing can make the other person not loved. So it is very difficult to define what love is. But there are certain common things that occur in love. Let's look at a definition or an attempt to define what is involved in love. Love is, say, a variety of different feelings, states, and attitudes that ranges from interpersonal affection to pleasure. It can refer to an emotion of a strong attraction and a personal attachment. So you have feelings, attitudes, interpersonal affection, pleasure, strong attraction, personal attachment. Those are all the phrases that go with it. And people can feel it, and different phrases may apply to them when they feel that they are in love. It usually refers to an emotional experience one person feels for another. Love often involves caring for or identifying with a person or thing, including oneself. Including oneself. So some people are in love with themselves. Some people are really only in love with themselves. And because they're so much in love with themselves, they're unable to love anybody else. They're called narcissists. And you can find them out very quickly because their ways and attitudes will be very distinct. My way or highway. You please me, I'm happy. You don't please me, there's something wrong with you. That's a narcissist. They are incapable of loving because they love themselves so much. Okay? In Islam though, like I mentioned before, in Islam, love is always paired with mercy and responsibility. I'm just going to read the verse again. And among his signs is that he created for you from among yourselves his spouses, that you may live with her in peace and tranquility, and he has set love and mercy between you. Surely in that are signs for those who reflect. Let's reflect on this verse. Why was it that love and mercy were paired in a relationship between a man and a woman? There is a very deep reason and purpose for it. As I mentioned, love is an emotion. And by its very nature, it doesn't stay consistent. Am I right?
Yep.
You are not happy all the time. You're happy, and then you're not happy. That doesn't mean you're sad. For somebody, you all of a sudden have this burst of love, and then the other time you don't. So it's variable. It doesn't go away necessarily, but its expressions are variable. They may or may not be there at a given time. But mercy is an act. Let me repeat that. Mercy is an act. It's not a feeling. Love, you don't have any control over. By the way, you don't choose to love somebody. It just happens. Try as hard as you can to want to love someone, but you can't. But mercy is your choice. You can be merciful, you can choose to be merciful to somebody that you don't love. Am I right? You can choose to be merciful to your enemies. But there is an essential quality to mercy. The essential quality of mercy is that merciful actions, kindness and caring awakens the love in other people's heart for you. Does that make sense? So if somebody is nice to you, somebody is kind to you, somebody is there when you need them, somebody always stands up and helps out, you automatically feel, you would be attracted towards this person. You would automatically feel love for this person. This is how most of the men, and especially women, fall in love. Let me give you a case example. I'm going to give you case examples all the time because these are actual cases, realities of life that I work with all the time. A young couple gets married. And then they're having some marital issues afterwards. And they come for counseling. And I ask them, so what made you decide that you want to get married and you're right for each other? And the lady said, well, I've known him for 3 years before we got married. he was there for me all the time. We texted all the time. Like at midnight, if I texted him, he'll be there. He'll text me back. Any time of the day when he's working, whatever not, I'll text him. I want to talk to him. I say, yes, what I can do for you? He was always there. He was so nice. He was so gentle. He was this and he was that. He was showing care and mercy. And that generated that feeling of love in her for him. Which is why the connection is important. Love is going to be down. It's not going to be always up. But if mercy remains if mercy is present in all circumstances, it would regenerate love. Makes sense? And if the love is regenerated, it will then give rise to more acts of mercy. It's a beautiful, beautiful circle that the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, created with wisdom. It's not just there by chance. It has been set, like Allah said, I set love and mercy between them. It was set like this. So therefore, in Islam, love is always paired with mercy and responsibility. Essentially, therefore, love is an emotional state. It is inherent in all of us. It is a need. It is unstable in its expression and possessive in nature. Let me explain these things in a minute. We talked about it is an emotional state. So I'm not going to go into it again. It is inherent in all of us. That means we are born with the ability to love, the desire to love, and to be loved. We are born, all of us are born with that capacity to love and to be loved. Look at when an infant child is born. This infant child has no concept of love, has no cognitive abilities to understand love, how to receive love. But this infant child, when he or she is crying, and his mother or her mother picks her up and puts him close to her bosom, that calms him. That's the love of the mother that this child experiences. And it calms. Love expressed and received properly would have a calming feeling inside us. Let me repeat that. Love expressed in a sincere way and received in that sincere way will calm us inside and out. Also, physical contact is the most important way of showing love. In other words, you can tell somebody 1 million times, I love you, and they say, oh, we don't really mean it. Am I right? I love you, love you, love you. And this has become a phrase that we use to show something that I can. But instead of saying, love you, if you go and give somebody a nice hug and hold him or her, even for 10 seconds, that shows love. Does that make sense? Physical contact is one primary, very effective way of showing love. I'm so sad to see that in the schools these days, teachers are not allowed to touch the kids. Am I right? You don't touch the kids because it may be inappropriate. Because you may be sued, because somebody may question it. And that has deprived these little children of accepting, experiencing love, and giving love. It's so sad. Kids love to hug and be hugged. I have a 1.5-year-old grandson. He's cute like a button. He's a beautiful baby. And we are babysitting him these days. So he can't speak yet. He just has few words in his vocabulary. Dada, mama, baba, babu, so on and so forth. Right? So, and he loves to play. He's a very jolly kid. So I'll be playing with him ball, and he can say ball, by the way. So he picks up a ball, says, Dada, ball, and he's going to say, come, play with me. So we'll play, and then he'll come, and he'll give me this big hug and a big kiss. That's the expression of love. I can tell this kid I love you 100 million times, but if I hug him back gently, he doesn't want to let go. This is the nature of love. We have this need. This need never goes away. But in males, this need is sort of crumpled. It's just pushed down. And they have to be machos. And love, that's for this girl stuff. It's not for us. And therefore they lose the capacity to show love, to deal with love. They don't know how to express their love themselves very well. I'm going to give you one case example. This sister one time called me somewhere in the world, and she needed some marital counseling. So I said, fine. And she said, my husband is a true gentleman. We have 2 children. We are married for so long. And he's a truly responsible man. He's not miserly. He's good with the kids, etc., etc., etc. But she said, I don't think he loves me. I said, sister, if he's doing all these things for you, you can't ask for better. What do you mean he doesn't love you? Understand, the case is, it makes a very good point that I was just talking about. She said, I don't think he loves me. I said, why would you say that? Like if a sister would have all these things in a man, they would love him to death. He says, I do, but he doesn't. So I said, why do you say that? He says, because he never wants to give me a hug. He sort of shies away when I get close to him. And it just makes me feel that he maybe doesn't like it. I said, yeah, okay. Can I talk to your husband? She said, sure. I told him that I would be talking to you. She said, yeah, you can talk to him. So I made an appointment with her husband. And I said, so you know that your wife came to see me? He said, yeah. I said, do you know what the problem is? He said, yeah. I said, what is the problem? He says, I just don't know how to show love. And she is not happy with me because of that. I said, why is that then? She said all these beautiful, great things about you. But she feels you don't love him. Do you love him? She says, honest to God, I do love her very much. I said, why don't you show her to her? She said, because I grew up in an environment where men don't show emotions and physical love to anybody else, especially women and their wives. Because it's girlish, it's not tough. Men don't do it. I've never seen my father giving my mother a hug, or any man giving any women a hug in my whole family, my whole tribe. That's how we grew up. And I don't feel comfortable doing this. This is not an uncommon problem, by the way. Men generally have difficulty expressing love. There are exceptions, no doubt about that. And there's a very good reason for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah created men and women, there's a bit of difference in their natures. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created women for a very specific purpose, which men cannot do, which is to have babies and to raise them to become successful human beings in this world and life hereafter. That job men are not able to do. And for that, they were given this special share of love from the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their hearts. That makes them carry their babies 9 months in their wombs, go through so much pain, to deliver them, to carry them, and after they've delivered them, lose their sleeps, have many, many sleepless nights to look after the babies, to nurture them, to feed them, to love them, to change them. It is easy. Love and the expression of love therefore comes easy to them, because they have been especially blessed with this. Men, on the other hand, their objective is to provide, to protect, to provide, to protect. And they are go-getters, therefore. They're out there, they're solving problems. They're managing. They're saying, how can we do this? How can we solve this? How can we manage this? And therefore, they don't have the same share of emotions as women. That's why, in a typical family, women are nurturers, men are disciplinarians. And there are exceptions as well. But like you said, okay, you behave, I'm going to call you that. And you hear all the time. You know, the good guy, the bad guy. So these poor guys become the bad guys because it comes easy to them. They can show love that easily, but they can show anger more easily. So most abused folks are women, not men. I mean, it's not that you can abuse them very well too. I know that. But generally that doesn't happen. So the need doesn't go away though. The case that I mentioned to you about this couple that came to me complaining that my husband doesn't love me. I asked the husband, so I says, but do you want to be loved? He said, of course I want to be loved. I said, but you don't know how to show or give the love back. He says, yeah. He said, okay, we'll teach you that. I said, okay. He said, okay. So I told his wife, I said, look, you are an expert in giving love. You teach him how to love. She said, what do you mean? What do I do? I said, what you do is this. When he comes home from work, and after you fed him and served dinner and everything else, you grab him, put the kids to bed, you grab him close to yourself, hug him, don't let him go. Do not let him cringe up. Do not let him go. Just hug him and say, you are not going anywhere. You're staying here with me. Right? Hug him, kiss him, and don't let him go. And his husband was sitting there, and he has this biggest smile on his face. I said, are you okay with that? He says, well, yeah, I think so. I said, all right, that's your home assignment. You guys do this for 2 weeks, come back. But you guys have to do it consistently. And the sister says, it's so awkward for a woman to be doing that. I said, I know. But this is therapy. You need to help him with this. And you can help him with this. 2 weeks later, they came. And the husband has this big, great, big smile. I said, so how'd it go? He says, pretty good. It felt pretty good. I said, were you able to hug her back? He said, Wallahi, I tried and it felt good. The point I'm trying to make, it's a need that doesn't go away. It is a need for men and for women that will never, ever go away. And If that need is frustrated, if that need is not met in home, people are going to go outside and find somebody else to meet it. I just made a very important statement. This is what causes a lot of marital breakdowns. This is what causes a lot of young people running away from home and finding their place amongst people who would easily accept them, care for them, love them, because they don't have it. When love needs are not met in a marital relationship, this is when extramarital affairs begin. When a love need is not met in a marital relationship, this is where the risk of extramarital affairs to begin. Not just men, but women as well. Because I have dealt with both kinds of cases. Where a woman is having in marriage extramarital affairs. And a man has also. So it doesn't matter this or that way, but this is always going to be the case. It's also possessive in nature. In other words, what you love, who you love, you want to hold on to. You don't want to let go. It's very difficult to let go of somebody that you truly fall in love with. What happens as a result, when things don't work out between couples and they separate, it is most difficult for women to get over this. Easier for men because they're not emotional, they can get over fast. But for women, it is very, very difficult. Emotionally difficult. Because you want to possess it, you want to have it for yourself. That's why there are jealousies. And you hear all kinds of stories about jealousies. Because of this possessive nature of love. Even with objects, with things. The things that you love, you don't want to share with anybody else. That's mine. You can have it. So this is essentially, in a nutshell, the nature of the love. Now, let's go into the expression of the love. When are we taking a break again? 6:45? Something like that? 6:45? Okay. Let's go into the expression of love. Expressions of love, like the brother pointed out back there a while ago, a mother's love for her child is very differently expressed. A father's love for his child is very differently expressed. The mother's expression of love for her child is not the same as the father's expression of the love for his child. Love amongst family members. The love that is expressed between brothers and sisters for grandparents, grandfathers, uncles, and aunts is again different. The love between a man and a woman is drastically different than the other loves. Loving thy neighbor, which is, again, that expression is very different. Love of land, I love my country. I love the place that I was born. I love, this place that I visited. I fell in love with Malaysia because it's so beautiful out there. The love of objects, purses, dresses, shoes, books, gadgets. That expression is different as well. The love of nature. That somebody loses himself or herself when they're in nature. The love of beautiful flowers. The love of lakes. The love of beautiful mountains. The wilderness. The quiet. The calm. That expression of love is again very different. Love of life. Wanting to survive. Wanting to live. And going out of your way to make sure that you survive and you live. And not at least, love of God. which is expressed again in very different ways. Regardless of all these different expressions of love for different people and by different people, in all these expressions of love, there's one common element, which is we won't hurt someone we truly love. If you truly love someone, you would not want to hurt someone. Give you example. Give you many examples. A mother, when she is unhappy with her child, and her child is being naughty, not listening, not paying attention, she gets angry, she gets stressed, she gets frustrated, she punishes him or her, and the child cries, but she cries with him inside. She has sleepless nights thinking, why did I do that? Why did I hit myself? Are you married? You too?
I'm no longer married, but I have 3 children that are probably the ages of most people in this room.
Ah, my bad. You probably experienced some of these things.
And the truth is, it leaves you guilty for years.
I know.
It sometimes doesn't go away.
Exactly. That's the point. You do not want to hurt someone that you truly love. And when you end up hurting unintentionally, not wanting to, for the purpose of discipline or whatever, it hurts you inside. It hurts you inside. I was dealing with this poor sister somewhere in America. She's so depressed. She looks so miserable. I was talking to her just a few days ago. And I said, why are you so miserable? Why are you so depressed? Are you medically healthy? She said, yes. You have all your life needs met? She says, yes. But I can't find happiness. I says, then what is making you unhappy? She said, I have 3 children. 2 of them are grown up and on their own, and the 3rd one is with me. And I'm not on good terms with them. I did them wrong. I asked her, are they happily married? Are they happy? She said, oh yeah, they're living their life. They're okay. Then why do you feel guilty about it? Because I did them wrong and I can't forgive myself.
That's the hardest part.
If you find somebody who claims to love but doesn't mind hurting this person, he or she is not in love. He or she is not in love, guaranteed. That's one common element, the test of true love.
How do you define hurt?
Hurt?
Yes.
It could be
Because
hurt.
you could be fighting and say something, I mean, with your siblings,
Sure,
parents, whatever.
sure.
Or, I mean, physical, obviously we know the answer to that, but how do you define hurt?
Hurt to me means when somebody, because of what you said or did, does not feel very good inside. He loses the feeling of peace, calm, and goodness from inside in his or her heart.
But sometimes we hurt the people the closest to us,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Siblings have fights,
Yep.
parents with their children. That's common.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that they don't love each other. Are you defining that there's not love there?
What I'm saying is that when a person hurts somebody unintentionally, most of the time between the siblings and whatnot, often it is not intended to hurt. Right? But there is times when they intend to hurt as well. Like I'm dealing with the case with 5 sisters in a family. And this one sister who is the third oldest. The two oldest sisters are married and on their own. So this fifth oldest sister is home with the four youngest sisters. And they don't get along with each other. This eldest sister that is home says to me, and has said to me many times, I hate my sisters. I curse them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. And she has come to the point, because of how the sisters have been dealing with her, but she can't let it go. She truly doesn't love them. That doesn't mean that if they were sick or ill that she would not be there to care for them. That's mercy. And she said, if one of them is sick, I'll be there to help them. But I don't love them. That's the act of mercy. Right? But we don't truly want to hurt someone that we truly love. And if we unintentionally end up doing it, and we do, most of the hurts in the relationships are generally unintentional. And when unintentional hurts happens, you feel guilty and you feel bad. And the sign of that is that you want to make up. You want to go say, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to say this. I didn't really mean to do that. Please forgive me. Rather than saying, it was all your fault. You made me do it. Then you know you're not. You don't have a person who's capable of loving. Makes sense? Okay. Any questions so far? By the way, as I told you, if you have questions, ask them now. Don't wait till the end. Because at the end you may not have time. And I may not have time. So anytime you have a question, raise your hand and ask them. If the answer is coming, I'll tell you it's coming. Or I will answer. Questions? I must be doing a pretty good job. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Steps in falling in love. Now, from this point on, we are now focusing on the love between a man and a woman, like the topic is today, spousal love between husband and wife, marriage, etc. So we are going to focus on that part now. A love between a man and woman generally begins with attraction. Would you say that's true? That's what I find. It's true. Most of the people, when I said so, oh, by the way, I do premarital counseling. And I recommend to all of you who are not married, if you're going to get married, do not make the mistake of marrying somebody without some premarital counseling, because the marriages are breaking up at a phenomenal rate. Amongst Muslim communities, the rate of divorces vary between 40 to 70%. Some as early as within 4 weeks.
What?
4 weeks.
Sorry.
And some as late as 40 years. And I've dealt with everything in between. A young guy came to me one day, I was at the mosque, at the masjid praying. He had married 4 weeks ago. Him and his brother together. They both got married 4 weeks before. I attended their marriage. He came to me 4 weeks later and said, I need an urgent appointment. What happened? He said, I want a divorce. What? You just got married 4 weeks ago. He said, I married the wrong person. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Do not make the mistake of falling in love, going crazy, seeing the stars and butterflies, being on cloud 9, leaving the earth, and falling on your face. Do not make that mistake. Get some premarital counseling. Since I started to offer it 2 years ago, by the way, three years ago, around 3-4 years ago, this started with me doing a series of workshops in New York, which was labeled as Marriage Toolbox. It has about 5 to 6 workshops, which started with preparing yourself to get married, separately for men and women, and for their parents, and then minimizing the risk of marriage breakdown, and so on and so forth. Since then, I started premarital counseling. And referrals come to me from around the world, from premarital counseling. And this is how it works. Like I said, most of this attraction, most of this falling in love begins with physical attraction. And then goes from there, like it is said, love is blind, it's blinding, because it's a strong emotion, like anger is blinding. Love is blinding. You don't see the whole truth. You're tunnel focused. And you only see that light. You don't see all the darkness around it. So, it begins with attraction. I was doing this premarital counseling with this young couple. They're both highly educated, by the way. The girl's parents approached me and said, would you please do marital counseling for her daughter? She's planning to get married to this person. And we would like you to do some premarital counseling for them. I said, okay. Is the boy in agreement? They said, yeah. Do the boy's parents know? Yeah. Are they in agreement? Yeah. Okay. So here's how it goes. I have a session with the young man individually, which is about an hour and a half. A session with the young sister individually, and then a joint session 2 hours, followed by another joint session if needed. Right? And the whole purpose of these sessions is one singular purpose, which is, do you know what you're getting into? What is involved in all these things? What are the realities of it? So I just pull them down back to earth. And I show them the dirt. It says, this is where you're going to fall if you don't stay on the earth and stay on your feet. So you got to know what you need, what you're getting into. You got to know that this is the right person that you're marrying. And I will teach you how would you know. I will guide you through it. So, I asked them, what made you decide that she's the right person for you? Oh, she's a nice person, all the motherhood. That doesn't mean anything. Oh, she's a very nice person, oh, she's this and she's that, and you know, I really am falling in love with her, and I really want to be with her, and I want to spend my life with her, and on and on. And I pin him down. I said, how long have you been talking to each other? I said, well, approximately a year. I said, okay, and have you in all these years talking with her, finding out something that bothers you? Would you tell this to my wife to be? I said, no, this is confidential, don't worry about it. He says, well, yes. And he tells me a whole bunch of things that he felt uncomfortable with talking to this woman that he was going to get married. Of course, long distance most of the time. So I said, so, you said before she's such a nice person, she's this, she's that, she's all of these things. So now you're telling me this other story. So what really attracts you towards her then? He says, do you really want to know? I says, of course. She's so beautiful. I'm so attracted towards her. That is the beginning. It is for men, and it is for many women as well. But that is the one first step that a person begins to fall in love. Then it gets into desire and lust. There's something very important that you need to understand here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created men and women and other species, He placed in the hearts of the males and the females an attraction towards each other and a desire to mate. The reason the attractions have been put in the males and females of every species is to attract the other gender and to mate. Because the species have to continue. By the way, don't be offended. I don't beat around the bush. I just say it as it is. So please don't be offended. So what happens is, if you know the animal world, if you see the documentaries on the animal world, birds, animals go to some rituals when the mating season is there for the males and females to attract towards each other. Am I right?
Yep.
Am I right? Is it true? That's what happens. They sing songs, they make strange calls, they do their strange dancings. The best ones that I've seen is the big bird was called. The biggest of the birds.
Peacock.
Say it again?
Peacock.
Not peacock. These are the fat big ones with long legs.
Ostrich.
Ostrich.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ostrich.
I've seen that. It's an
You
incredible
should see
display.
their love dance. Man, it's so beautiful.
Oh, it is. It's an incredible display. My father
Have
used
you
to have
seen
us
it?
watch shows like this all the time. It's an incredible display. That and eagles.
Eagles.
Eagles. Every year, eagles, on the day they mated, they do the same dance to reconnect. It's almost like they fly up as high as they can go. They lock claws and they tumble to the earth until they part just before they crash.
Wow.
It's absolutely fascinating.
So, the point is, it is there between all the species. The same desire to mate is there, therefore, in human species.
We just have different mating dances.
So this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us all these rules and regulations about the interaction between men and women outside of marriage. Why? So that we don't live like animals. Because what happens in animal kingdom, generally speaking, is that in the mating season, the males come and mate with the females, and the males go. And the females are left carrying the burden of carrying the pregnancy, delivering the baby, raising the baby until the baby is big enough to go and be on her own. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want the mating rituals like an animal mating rituals amongst humans. Because the purpose is not just survival, the purpose is to create human beings that are using all their potentials as humans, and they are successful in this life and the life hereafter. It's a responsible propagation of the species rather than an irresponsible one. All the species are created in this world, besides human beings, for the use of some other species. Am I right? They serve a purpose for the use of some other species, some other creation that they feed and that they contribute in their survival, except humans. Which is why there are all these requirements. Which is why there are all these codes of dressing. How do you talk to a man who's not married to you? How do you interact with a woman who's not married to you? So that this attraction, which is natural, it would happen, it will not lead to the animal instinct and desires and lust of mating. If you look at honestly, look at the entire world, in all cultures, and especially in the Western cultures, mating amongst males and females is like, okay, let's go have a Coke. Let's go have a coffee. Am I right? It's just become like this. I mean, there's no big deal. We're going to go have an intercourse. And then we're going to be on our way. That's not how we want it to be. But after the attraction, the next step will be naturally to want to be with this person and to mate with this person. The third step is, if it goes to that point, the third step is that they may begin to recognize each other's personal qualities. Because now there's physical contact. It is the physical contact coming of two bodies, two souls together, two hearts together, that begins to teach them, to get them to see other qualities in the person. She's so gentle. He's so honest. He's so brave. He's so caring. He's so intelligent. She's so all kinds of things. And they begin to now fall in love with the person besides the need to mate. You see what I'm saying? So even if now they may not be mating and the desire is still there, but they may still they have stable love and caring for each other, because now they care for not just their desires, but they care for the person. So these are generally the steps in falling in love. Questions?
Actually, I have a personal one. Having formerly been Catholic and taught all the catechisms and stuff, one of the requirements of getting married in the Catholic Church is that you must attend premarital counseling. You actually must do a marriage course prior to being married.
Yeah.
I'm curious, there's no such thing under Islam?
There's no such thing. There's no such mandated thing.
Okay.
You know, the mandate that you have in the church is by the direction of the church, not the religion.
This is true.
That's what I'm saying. So in Islam, again, it's not mandated, but the communities and the churches and the mosques, the bodies of the people who govern and lead, they have not done it. Now, in many places, in many cities, because I travel a lot, I find out that they are beginning to do this.
Oh, so the Catholic Church has always done it?
Is that right?
Yeah, the Catholic Church has always required that before you are married, you must go to the priest. It's not the priest who necessarily actually conducts the course, though he is a part of it. There are actually trained psychologists and counselors who do this. You must go through this course before you're married. It used to be in the Catholic Church, you actually had to have blood tests to make sure that you were not actually related to get married. Mm-hmm. So there were many mandated things, and part of the reason was to stop the natural desire, right?
Yeah.
To stop premarital relations.
Exactly. But there's no such thing in our mosques and in our Islamic centers.
Okay.
But in some cities, they are coming up. And I understand, I have not actually witnessed it, but I understand that in some countries, for example in Indonesia.
Right.
And somebody mentioned Malaysia as well. So in some of these countries, it is mandated that you take a premarital counseling session or whatever with the local imam, with a local scholar, right? So in some places it is, but it is not overall.
But it's to do exactly what you said, right? To make sure, because we get attracted. You can take one look at someone, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter your age difference or anything else, and it's instantaneous, right? Yeah. And then you are naturally going to go. It's a God's gift to go to desires and lusts for the purpose of mating. It just is. It's human in all of us.
Absolutely.
So it's to make sure that the next steps, the recognition of personal qualities, to have that stable and lasting love. That's why it's been put into place.
Yep.
That's why I'm kind of curious why it's not under Islam, considering the
Again,
limited knowledge I have.
It's not in Islam,
Yeah.
It's not in Christianity, it's the churches doing.
Yeah, that's why I said the Catholic Church has done it for
Right.
ever.
So the Muslim scholars and imams in the centers have not thought about it, have not done it.
Okay.
Now that the marriages are failing so fast and so badly that they are becoming cognizant of this need. So some centers are now requiring that you must go through this course. And they don't have to, but the imam says, I'm not going to perform the marriage until you have gone through it. Right? So what I started to do is that I saw a need in our communities that men and women are not mentally prepared to understand marriage. And they have these Hollywood, Bollywood types of fantasies about marriage, and these cloud nine kinds of things, and they fall on their faces and hurt badly, which is where I started 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, these courses for men, young men and women who are planning to get married, to sit down and understand what it is that they're going to get married, or what it is all about that they're going to get into. And lots of people are coming. It is not a course necessarily. It is basically a few sessions.
Yeah.
That sort of brings them down to earth and makes them think of the realities of what they're going to get into. Yeah. Yes.
So I have a question about, can a man love 2 women at the same time and have those be as equally genuine? Because when we talk about in Islam, men marrying more than 1 woman, and then you have the nature of love being possessive in nature. I mean, myself, I'm married. This is my husband. I would never accept him to marry another woman.
I know.
Because he knows that. It's written in our contract. But, yeah, I mean, sure. But that's my nature. I don't want to share my husband with another woman. In Islam, it gives him the right to have another woman. But my question is, do you think yourself that men can love 2 women, 2 wives?
Yes.
Equally, yeah? Or not
Well,
equally, but I mean, feel love for both?
Like I told you before, and before I told you guys that love is not in your control. It is an emotion that just comes and goes. You don't choose to love somebody more and somebody less. You understand? And I'm going to show you at the end, there are a number of examples from the Prophet's life, because he had more than 1 wife. So I'm going to show you some of the examples from his life as to how he dealt with it and what supplication he made to Allah about this. That's beautiful. You should see it. I'm going to come to it, inshallah. Okay. Any more questions? One question before we... Yeah.
I had a question, Sadiq.
Last time.
Regarding love, like you're talking about attraction. So what do you think about, what's your personal opinion on some people who, like, for instance, 2 who meet, and then after sitting for just 1 time, one of the, like, either the girl or the guy says, oh, that's it, I want to get married. This is the person I've been looking for, after only 1 seating. What do you think about something like that? Is that considered love at first sight, and is there such a thing?
I call it stupidity.
No one said it wasn't.
I mean, you have to, like I said, you have to truly, it's love at first sight is actually blindness at first sight. Because you don't see the whole reality there. And you find out the whole reality soon after. Not very long after, but soon after. And then you are in trouble. So you would not want to with one sitting, talking to somebody and say, hi, are you okay, looks good, okay, let's get married. No, those days are not there anymore and should not be there, right? There has to be a good understanding on both sides. Now these days, my recommendation is, in our cultures, in our Muslim cultures basically, women and men were not allowed to sort of talk to each other before marriage for too long because of the risk of emotional bonding prematurely, right? And then if it doesn't work out, it causes problems. But now I recommend that once the 2 sides, the 2 family sides agree that yes, it seems like good families, good proposals, then the men and the women should be given a chance to ask appropriate questions, guided questions. You need to know what kinds of questions you need to ask. You need to know how would you find out about the true personality of this person, not totally, but significantly enough so that you can make a reasonable decision, right? If parents and the families will not allow that opportunity, they're going to regret it. Any more questions? Yes.
How long do you think is the best for 2 to get to know each other? How long do you think the process should be?
Some sisters think a few years. I still think that the longer you will keep talking, you probably not get married.
So what do you think the ideal?
The ideal is, to me, it's not the ideal time, but asking ideal questions, knowing what it is that you need to know. And that can be done in as little as 2 weeks, 4 weeks. If you know what it is that you want to know, what it is that you need to know. This is not actually the day and the time for me to go over the details of that, because that comes into my workshops on getting ready to be married. All those things. What it is that you need to know and how do you go about it. Today we're not going to go into the details of that, unfortunately. Any more questions for? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just shocked to hear the rate of Muslim divorce from 40 to 70%. So what do you think has led to the increase of this rate compared to the past?
There are many factors in it. Many factors in it. For example, like quick decisions, premature decisions, not a clear understanding of what you're getting into, unrealistic expectations of each other, demanding of rights without wanting to fulfill the responsibilities, parents interfering, culture, all kinds of things. There's not one thing. I was myself surprised. Well, I was in Belgium 2 years ago. And I was doing this workshop on marriage and marital relationships, the problems in the marriage. And at that time, I said, I'm told that the rate of divorce amongst Muslim communities is between 40 to about 55%, 60%. The guys from Belgium stood up and says, here it is 70%. You can find as many single divorced women with kids, fending for themselves. There's nobody to support them anymore. So there's all kinds of different reasons why. And it is even in Muslim countries. Muslim countries also have pretty significant number of divorces. And there are a whole bunch of factors. Sometimes when you have time and when you would like to, ask me to come back and do a workshop on that topic. How to prepare yourself to get married. What are the things that you really need to know? And how do you go about finding out about it? So that you don't go blindly and be blinded by falling in love through attractions. Okay, this is now 6:52 break time, is that right? Let's take a break for about 10 to 12 minutes and then whatever is there is there. It's like just like a teenager, for example. His mother is complaining, he never makes his bed. He throws everything on the floor. There's a basket where he can put his dirty clothes, but he won't do it. He just puts it on there. He takes off his pajamas, dumps it on the bed on the floor, goes away. And I talk to this and I says, is that right? He says, yeah. What's wrong with that? Why make the bed? I'm going to sleep on the bed again tonight anyway. Why put the pajamas somewhere else? I'm going to wear it tonight again anyways. Why do I have to put my dirty clothes in the basket? My mother does it always anyways. That's her job. Yes.
I have a question. When we talk about love being like long lasting, it seems that like a woman's heart or a girl's heart can always be broken. But what about a man? Can a man's heart ever be broken?
What do you mean that a woman's heart always is broken? What?
Like it seems to be like very like cliche, kind of like, oh, it's show and oh, she's sad, But whereas with a man, it seems like, yeah, he doesn't feel, So it's like, can a man's heart actually be broken? Like, if men and women are built the same, but in different respects, can a man's heart be broken when it comes to love?
The broken heart is a term used to actually say that the person is miserable, that he has his or her expectations were not met, he is disappointed, he was abandoned, so on and so forth, right? Those are all feelings. I have news for you. Hearts don't break. Hearts stay intact. Actually, the emotions, the negative emotions is basically made you feel like, oh my God, there's no hope left. Right? Men and women go through the same thing. SubhanAllah, listen to this and remember this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made us out of glass. We never break. We may feel like broken, but we never break. We are made of hard rubber. Wow. The heavier you drop it, the higher it bounces back. Ability to bounce back. We have that ability. Which is why, as a psychologist, as a therapist, when I deal with trauma patients, I do not tell them that this is a permanent scar on you that you're going to have to live with. No, wrong. No, you have the ability to overcome this. You have the ability to be happy again. If you think you're going to forget it, no, you won't forget it. But it won't have to affect you the same way to keep you miserable, to keep you fearful, to have you nightmares, to want to have you sick. No, it doesn't have to do that. You see what I'm saying? How a person's heart is going to be broken, be it a woman or a man, is how they will interpret what's happening around them and within them. Let me repeat that. An emotion is dependent upon your interpretation and perception of events within yourself and outside yourself. Does that make sense? Let me give you an example. In a family, in a large family, somebody passes away. A significant other passes away. There are so many family members, but they're all affected differently emotionally. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Some will grieve the death for a long time. Some will lose, therefore, the hope and the desire to live themselves. Some will grieve, some will cry, some won't even cry. Some can overcome them very fast. Others take very long time. Why? The event is the same. The event is the same. Somebody passed away. And he was a significant person, or she was a significant person. A mother, a father, a grandmother, a grandfather, a brother, a sister. But why are there so many different reactions, emotional reactions? It's because how each person interprets this differently. A wife who is so always has been dependent on her husband, that her life was connected to the life of the husband. She doesn't see a life for herself without the husband. When the husband dies, she grieves for a long time because she feels lost. A major connection that held them together is no longer there. On the other hand, a woman who is married, who loses her husband, but she also is always cognizant of the fact life has no guarantee. Death is guaranteed. The sad part is we don't know when it's going to come. That's the reality of life. And somebody dying cannot take away life or the happinesses of life from somebody else. Yes, we feel the loss. Yes, as humans we feel sadness. Yes, no doubt about that. But if we accept that fact, if we emotionally, psychologically accept that fact, then it helps us go on. So we are never broken, like in how people think that she's broken. Well, no. She's not broken. She just feels broken. It can be mended. If I can help her, if I can help him, look at the whole thing from a different perspective. And by the way, that's what I do in my therapy. I don't see my clients, and I don't keep seeing them talking about the same things over and over and over again. My style of work is change the way they think. If they're not happy, there's some unhealthy thought processes that's going on here. Change them. Make them aware of this. This unhealthy thought process is making you unhappy. Change it, and your emotion will change. I'll give you a great example of this. One time, a woman from Saudi Arabia somewhere called me and said, I'm very depressed. She was a professor at the university, mathematics, very highly educated. She had become very depressed. So I said, all right. By the way, this long distance work happens audiovisual live over the internet using Skype. So I saw her. Briefly, here's the story. She was married very long time, has 3 adult children, who is still with her, not married yet. Her husband is also a professor at the university. And her mother-in-law has always lived with her. Because the other brothers of the husband won't take care of her. So she was with them most of the time. And she always said things because she did not like this daughter-in-law. So she created problems between her and him, complaining about him, complaining about her, she doesn't do it this way, she did that to me, she did that to me, and all those things. And she was giving her a hard time. And this woman was feeling so sad about it. She says, I am the one who is looking after her, who has looked after her for such a long time, and who has never complained to my husband about why do I have to do this. And yet she has nothing good to say about it. She has always tried to get me and my husband separated. And I just feel so depressed about it. I just don't know what to do. The therapeutic process went on, but I'm just going to tell you, in the 3rd session, what happened. In the 3rd session, I asked a question. I said, so for all these 35 years of marriage, she has been trying to have you and your husband separated. And she has nothing good to say about it. She says, yeah. I said, has your husband left you? She says, no, he's a good man. If it was not because of him, I would have gone nuts. I said, so, does he understand that his mother is doing all these things? She says, yeah, he is very supportive. And then I asked her one final question. What is your net loss? What is your net loss in your relationship, in your husband, in your household? She thought about it. She says, come to think of it, alhamdulillah, we're still together. My husband still loves me. He's still supportive of me. My kids are good. I says, then, change your thinking about your mother-in-law like this. Don't think of her as a mean woman. Think of her as an emotionally unappreciative handicapped woman. I said, if you have a handicapped child, a handicapped person, a retarded person, if this retired person even kicks your backside, you won't get mad at him because that's retarded. He doesn't know right from wrong. Am I right? You won't feel broken. You won't feel sad and depressed. Why did he kick me? Think of it, I said, think of her as a person who is not able emotionally to appreciate somebody's goodness. That's her handicap. There's nothing you can do about it. Can you think about it like this? She's like, I can try. I had a follow-up session with her after 3 weeks. I said, how's it going? She said, very good. Very good. I said, what made the change? She says, what made the change is every time I feel sad about it, I ask myself, what is my net loss? And she was cured. Her depression was gone. That's what I do. Change the way you think, change the way you interpret your life and things around you. So therefore, once you understand, your love wraps itself around the beauties in the person. Then it becomes long-lasting. The consequence of that is that it helps you when there are problems. It helps you overcome them fast. They don't go on and on and on and on. Make sense? Okay. That takes me to romantic love. My favorite part. Romantic, yes, question.
I just have a question about the previous section. This is actually more for the woman, because what I've seen in just my family and in general is that what happens a lot of time that the woman ends up giving the rights to the husband, but she's not getting the responsibilities back, and then that leads to like pent up frustration and that passive aggressiveness. So how do you deal with that? If you just keep giving the rights and you don't communicate it, that you're being done justly?
Well, you know, the thing is, there are two things. Like I said, kindness cannot be fought for too long. Number one. So, if you choose to remain kind, and you choose to remain kind for your sense of accountability before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Number two, when you need to assert yourself, you can assert yourself, but it's still in a kind way. Not rude way, not threatening way, not hurtful way, not revengeful way, but in a kind way, in a focused way, in a matter-of-fact way. Right? So, for example, if my wife is not fulfilling her rights, her responsibilities towards me, you say, you know, my dear sweet wife, I love you so much. I can't take care of you. If there's anything that I am not doing to meet your rights, please let me know. But I'm unhappy because I feel that my needs are frustrated here in this way. Generally, if you stay focused on the issue and are able to assert yourself and have good communication skills, it will not result in arguments. You're able to discuss it. You're able to see the light. There are certain such circumstances when there are personality clashes. For example, I'm just dealing with a case, very recent case, a couple of days ago. The man came in, he's a very sweet soul, he's a gentleman. His wife comes from an environment where women are overly controlled. His mother was the boss. Her father was a colonel in the army. But at home he was like a little mouse. The mother completely controlled her. All the women her older sisters are all like that. So she has learned to be like this, to deal with her husband. And he says to me that she says, I actually feel good if I hurt you.
Wow.
That's what he tells me. I haven't seen his wife yet. She tells me, I actually feel good when I hurt you. Now, in those kinds of situations, there's not going to be an easy solution because there's a major personality issue. And separation is a better alternative. Which is why divorces have been left in the Islamic code. As undesirable as they are, lots and lots of verses in the Quran have provided solid guidance about separation divorce. Am I right? It is for that purpose. Does that make sense? Okay, there's a quick question here. I'm going to go to romantic love in a minute. What is the concept of an Islamic marriage? The concept of an Islamic marriage is basically, like I've been saying, very simple. That you make a commitment to look after your wife and your children, and your husband and your children, in a way, in the tradition of the Prophet, peace be upon him, as he treated his wife and his children, with responsibility, love, care, respect. Not to please your wife or your husband or children, but to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because that's what you're expected to do, regardless. And the purpose of the marriage is to have a family atmosphere which is comforting, peaceful, and tranquil. And also to have children and to raise children who are great human beings, successful in their life here and successful in life hereafter. That is the purpose of the marriage. Second, is it allowed to express feelings verbally in public to your wife? Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with it, but there is a natural shyness. In other words, you don't sit in the bus and keep smooching each other in a corner somewhere. It's the shyness, it's the haya. You understand the haya thing, right? So it's the haya, it's the natural sense of shyness that you don't do very personal kinds of things in front of the public. Right? So, can you hold hand? Of course you can. Me and my wife go holding hands walking every day. And we love it. And I keep squeezing her hand too. Right? So of course you do it. Can you hug in front of other people? Well, yeah, but in a decent way. Decency has to be there. That makes sense? But culturally, some of these things are taboos. That's culture. There's nothing, religion has nothing to do with it. Okay, so, romantic love is a playful expression of love arousing sexual desire. Necessary for enjoyable and satisfactory intimacy. Helps solidify emotional bond between husband and wife. And as a result, lives and relationship problems are easily resolved. Let me just expand a bit on it. Often, intimacy in marriages become mechanical. Traditions, formalities. Am I right? Most of the time, they just, okay, let's have sex. And they have sex, okay, I'm too tired. They just turn their own ways and go to sleep. There is no feelings of love, mutual care. There is no preparedness. Rasulullah taught us, by the way, in one hadith, the meaning of which is, don't jump on your women like animals. Prepare them. And that preparing is what romantic love is all about.
But it works both ways.
But both ways, of course.
See, and it's funny for me because I hear all of these things. I've seen not Bollywood films, but everything else. And I guess I was spoiled rotten growing up because my parents and both my sets of grandparents were absolutely in love, romantically, physically, emotionally. Like, this is what I got to witness growing up. So everything you're saying here, the hold hands, the peck on the cheek, or even a quick peck on the lips in public, or whatever else, all those simple things, I don't think men would even understand, no offense guys, that that's what actually does it. It's not just preparing your wives that way, but it's good for them too.
Absolutely.
Right? It's what keeps the connection.
Absolutely.
And then it's what actually helps fulfill their more stronger libido. Not that we don't have it too,
Sure.
It's just that ours is approached differently.
Yeah.
So it has to be a balance between a husband and wife.
Absolutely. But the reason why in Islam, men have always been addressed about these things
because they are supposed to be the role models. They are supposed to lead. They are supposed to be the role models and lead. You see, the thing is, generally speaking, women are more romantic by nature than men are. Generally speaking, women do not enjoy sex without romance. They need to feel loved first and cared first. I mean, you can satisfy your sexual desires, no doubt about that. Like, you can eat fast food, junk food, and be filled. But then you can go to a great restaurant with a great environment and serve on platter 5-course dinner. You still go get filled, but it's a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that doesn't happen in many homes. Sex is taken, therefore, especially by women, as a chore, as a responsibility. They can't say no. And therefore, the emotional bond is not there. Now, how a woman or a man would be, romanticized varies from person to person to person to person. Let me ask you this question. We don't have much time, but let me ask you this question. Somebody told me that we can stay for a bit longer if we have to. Let me ask this question. Don't be embarrassed, but the question is, what would you find very romantic? Yes?
Roses and candles.
Hmm?
Roses and candles.
What?
Roses and candles.
Roses and candles. Wow. Okay, good.
Someone dedicating their time to you.
Hmm?
Someone dedicating their time to you.
Something dedicating their time.
Someone dedicating their time.
Yeah, to you. Okay, got you. Yes.
Someone who prays for you.
Someone who prays for you.
You love them so much, you have to vote them. I love it.
Uh-huh. How would you know if he does?
I'm not sure myself.
Okay. But how will the person see the romance in it?
Oh, I misunderstood.
What would be romantic for you when you are with a man or with a woman?
When someone remembers the little things,
Like?
like the simple things you say, or just, if you pay attention to somebody, you just pick it up.
Okay. Anything more specific? Have you never thought about it, girls?
They're all
Are
too
you
young.
shy?
I'm sorry, I'm sitting here listening going, wow, this is just so enlightening. Because the thing that you're too young to understand is that it changes throughout your entire marriage. And there's also a phrase that you will fall in and out of love through your entire marriage as long as you don't fall out of love at the same time. And of course, pregnancies change it, and stress at his job or her job changes it. It all does. So one moment she could find roses and candles absolutely romantic, and the next week she'd be going, what the hell are you doing? I'm sorry, but it's true. But it is, because we're all human and we all react differently with our perspective, right?
I know.
And
I know.
it's just, so I'm listening to this going, you're all so young.
No, you're so right. It changes so much as to what would you find romantic at different stages of your marriage.
Absolutely.
But I just wanted to find out from the crowd, like, give me some ideas to what would be romantic. What would you find romantic?
Smiling, happy personality. Smiling.
Smiling? Okay. Anything else? There's so many variances. I know this topic is not easy to openly talk about.
But it should be.
But it should be.
It really,
It
honest
should
to
be.
God,
In
it
reality,
should
honestly,
be.
all should be, because there's no shyness in learning. The women in the time of Rasulullah came to him asking him very personal questions. Am I right? And his answer was, the meaning of which is, there's no shyness in wanting to know and wanting to learn. Am I right? So there's no, but it's cultural. It's the cultural, it's the natural haya and stuff. But the point that I'm making is, that without romance, the expression of love is not complete. And you have to find ways to be romantic in different stages of your life, changing as needed, but romantic. To stay emotionally bonded and to be fulfill your needs of being cared and truly loved. And you have to be observant enough and cognizant enough to understand that at a different time, what would be most romantic for my husband, for my wife. I will give a couple of examples. For some women, a husband, at the end of the day when he comes home, or at some time, unexpectedly brings a whole bunch of roses. And they find it so romantic.
I'm going to counter that. One of the most romantic things that I've ever heard is friends that I know have married for years. His first date, he forgot to bring flowers. He had chocolate kisses he picked up at the gas station. He actually picked every dandelion out of her front yard to knock on her door. Every year on their anniversary, he picks every dandelion out of their front yard. She doesn't care for roses. She likes them, but those dandelions mean more. It depends on how you put it.
Exactly.
I'm going to give you another bizarre one. We're Irish in my family, half of us. There are sometimes I've said, because my mother would say it to us, because her mother said it to her, I love you to death, and today I'd like to kill you. It sounds bad, but my children knew, okay, I'm really in trouble, and you're really mad at me now, but you still love me. It just depends on how you each do things, right? It really
go on. The same flowers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If I brought the same flowers home, my wife would say, what did you do that for? They're going to die in a couple of days anyways.
Yeah, why'd you waste that money?
Why did you waste that money? Sitting after dinner, bring out one of the best chocolates and eating half of it and putting half in your wife's mouth, or giving half for her first, say, bite it. And then you eat the rest of that. That's romantic. I don't want to get there, I'm just going to lose myself. But that's what needs to happen.
Yep.
It has to be unexpected. It has to be truly knowing that the person will enjoy it. Let me give you another example. Now you have 2 children. As soon as you have a child, the nature of intimacy changes. 1 child, imagine 5. Looking after 1 child, men don't really appreciate it because they don't. But women can vouch for it as to how difficult it is even to look for 1 child, especially young ones. So now, he comes home. The wife has been busy all day long looking after this kid who keeps crying, who wants it in one place and is so demanding, and keeps wetting himself and all the things, and she's so tired. And he comes home. What is the most romantic thing for him to do? He wants intimacy, of course. But now, what would be romantic for his wife? What may be romantic for his wife is for him to come inside, put things away, hold her, hug her and says, you must be very tired looking after the baby. I can see it on your face, sweetie. How was your day? Can I help you with something? That she will find so romantic. No flowers, no chocolates, nothing to be brought on. Just pure, sincere love and care. But you can't fake it. If you fake it, she'll right away know. Don't fake it.
Intuitive that way.
So, romantic love is necessary to maintain the emotional bond and connection. But you need to work on it. There is the maintenance of the romantic love, mercy, kindness, and patience. Living a balanced life. Meeting all your obligations to just live Allah's blessing. That is very important. None of the two can say, oh, I have kids to look after, you look after yourself. Don't ask me for all these things. You have to do it for yourself because I have kids to look after. No, you should have him to look after as well. A husband can say, well, I have 3 jobs. I don't have time for all of this. No, you can't say. She has her rights too. You have your obligations towards her too. Learning to live a balanced life is extremely important in maintaining a good relationship. If your life is not balanced, if you're too preoccupied with one thing or the other and are not able to justly meet the needs of the other aspects of your life, it's going to get hurt. It's not going to be maintained. It's staying focused on the positive and letting go, forgiving the negativeness. Those of you who might have gone to my website, which is www.shifa.ca, there's a caption that I have. Read it sometime. It says, love without mercy is not true love. Mercy without forgiving is not true forgiving. Forgiving without letting go is not true forgiving. You have to let go. If you don't let go, if you hang on to things, especially negative ones, it will always hurt. Last case I'm going to mention, this woman called me one time from somewhere. She said that she's very confused. She needs some help. And what was happening was she was married to this guy who had badly abused her for 6 years in all kinds of possible ways. But then, for the past year and a half, he changed. And she said, you know, he has changed. He is continuously changing and trying to be good and make up for all those things that he has done to me. And I can vouch for it, that he is changed. But I can't let go of the past. I can't accept his kindness from him because of what he did to me. Is there a solution to this? I said to her, I said, sister, those who don't appreciate good that they have now would live in the misery of the past always. Those who won't appreciate, who choose not to appreciate what is good in their life now, would live in the misery of their past. And those who will worry about what's coming tomorrow will always live an anxious and scary life, fearful life. Your choice. You decide what you want to do, how you want to live your choice. Okay? And now, the last part. Prophet Muhammad's expression of love to his family. The Holy Prophet was scrupulous in maintaining a treatment of justice and equity towards his family members, his wives. But so far as love is concerned, he used to say, "O Allah, all things over which I have control, I have divided equally among them. But don't condemn me for that which is beyond my control." Which is how much love I feel for who? It is beyond my control. Therefore, justice between the wives does not mean equally loving them, but equally justly caring for all their needs in a kind, merciful way. And it's still love too. But the quality and the quantity and the severity of love may vary from one person to the other, and it is not too difficult to understand for those women who have children. You would know that you don't equally exactly love all your children. Am I right?
You can't.
You can't.
And nor can you do it consistently throughout their lives.
Exactly.
At different times, you will love one child more for whatever reason. And you will do that for as long as you're a parent, until the day you die.
Also, you know that it is a known fact that one or the other child is the favorite of the father, one or the other child is the favorite of the mother. They will all claim that they are just and loving everyone. But no, actually there's some favoritism going on. So this is beyond your control. You are not supposed to, as long as you are treating all of your family members with justice, kindness, mercy, meeting your obligations towards them. Okay? Next point. He taught us, the best amongst you is the one who treats his family members the best. Expressing his emotional closeness, he would rest against the knees of his wife Aisha and would also recite the Holy Quran in this position. In my personal life experience, I find when I am close to my wife or she's close to me and I'm leaning with, on her shoulder or lie down on her lap or vice versa, she's all love. It shows love, closeness. He was so close to his wife that he would lean back to the knees of Aisha and read Quran sitting like this. Imagine how much love he felt and how much love Aisha felt for him at that time. I always know that when I lean towards my wife, or my head is in her lap, she always begins to massage my head. It feels so good. Expressing his emotional closeness, he would rest against the knees of his wife Aisha and would also recite the Holy Quran in that position. Every day, after Asr prayer, he used to visit his family. He would sit with them and inquire about their health and other matters. It seldom happened that he failed to visit his family every day. Big lesson to learn, guys and girls. Generally, when husbands come home, they're too tired to sit down and talk. And women have the need to talk and share. They like to talk, they like to share their emotions. Men don't have time for it. And consequently, the love begins to fade. How many times women have complained to me, he comes home, he eats, then he's back on his laptop. He's back on his computer. Or he's watching TV. I need to talk about something. He says, okay, what? Yeah, I'm listening. He's still looking at the computer. Yeah, I'm listening. Go on, I'm listening. That's not how the Prophet was. He would sit with them and inquire about their health and other matters. And it never failed. This is where we get our lessons as to how to actually behave in the marriage. Next slide.
Just a question about that. Was that for his wives only, or was that for his extended family as well?
He was like this with everybody, but he regularly visited all his wife after Asr prayer. Because that was his felt responsibility. That he must take care of them. He must make sure that they're all okay.
And if your parents are alive, do you have the same responsibility?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We must care for everyone that we're close to, be they our parents or our children. And in terms of caring, it is not prioritized. Let me explain what I just said. Allah has put obligations upon us towards our husbands, wives, children, parents, neighbors, people in the land, community, land itself, etc., etc. Am I right? But nowhere in the Quran or Hadith, these priorities, these obligations have been prioritized. That number one always is this, number two always is this, number three always is this, number four always. Never, nowhere. Why? Because it's based on needs at any given time. To give you an example, I come home from a long day's work. My wife has been looking after 5 kids, and she is very tired. And I do need to go and take care of the kids so that she can relax and we can then eat. Okay. And yet, as soon as I come in, I get a call from my neighbor. It says, Dr. Sadiq, would you please come right away? My son has just fallen down the stairs. And I need somebody to take him to the hospital. I don't have my husband here. What is my priority?
Child that fell. The child that fell.
Exactly. Go to the neighbor.
But
My
then-
wife would come after. Do you know what I'm saying? It is never paralyzed. So we have all these obligations to meet. And we find a balance in doing it based on the needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then how about how your mother comes first and then your father? And...
No. The mother comes first and father comes next is not in terms of always. Like the mother's status in the eyes of Allah is very high because of the sacrifices that she makes. Right? But let me ask you this. When you come from work, for example, you always stop by at your mother's to find out how she's doing, to take care of her, to see if there's something that she needs, that's something that you can help her with. Right? And that's what you do, which is fine. And one day your wife calls and says, hey, I'm not feeling well. I've been throwing up. I need to go to the hospital. Would you please come and get me? So that day, would you still go to your mother first?
No, you go to the parent, you go to the wife.
Exactly. Now you understand what I'm saying? Yes, the mother's rights are very high because what she has done for you and for me. It should never be ignored. But it is not paralyzed. And the mothers would not say, like this mother said, the example that I just gave you. This guy was called from work and his wife called. They lived in the basement. The mother and the family lived upstairs. And his practice was that he would always go up the stairs first when he came in. And he would say salam to his mother, find out how she's doing, and then he'll come downstairs. That day when his wife called him that she was sick, she needed to go to the hospital, he came home, did not go up the stairs, went straight into the basement, got the wife, took him to the doctors. The next morning the mother complained, so now your wife comes first. Remember who gave you birth? You can have other wives, you're going to only have one mother. That's culture. That has nothing to do with religion. Do you agree with me?
Totally.
Understanding the religion properly is very important. Culture is not religion. We need to understand and differentiate between culture and religion. Okay? So, and look at the romantic part of this. As and when his wife Aisha drank water, he would take the cup from her, from which she had been drinking, and drink from the same spot on the cup which she was drinking from. Similarly, when she chewed meat from a bone, he would take the bone and chew the remaining portion, beginning from the very point from which she had been eating. This is romance. This is romance, man. So, you know that there was romance in the Prophet's life as well, in the Prophet's love as well. And probably one more slide. He was playful with his family. He would race with his wife to see who can go faster. He would enter the house with a pleasing disposition and a smile on his face always. Even if he was stressed out, he was a prophet. He had huge responsibilities. He has too many things to take care of. He has too many worries on his head and things on it. But when he came home with a pleasing disposition and with a smile on his face, because that was in his control as to how to behave. Your behavior is in your control. His wife Aisha narrated that he used to sit amongst us talking and laughing in such a way that we would not feel that he was a resolute prophet. But if some religious issue cropped up, or it was time for prayer, he appeared to be a different man altogether. Because now it is my call to my God. This is what living a balanced life means. Beautiful example of living a balanced life. Doing what needs to be done at a given time. That's what balanced life is all about. And last but not least, and the most pure and everlasting love is the love of God. A love that will never be betrayed. Never be betrayed. And love of God, loving God, is not different. If you live your life according to the guidance Allah provided you, then He loves you. You become His beloved. Because you care. You care. You choose to live by His guidance and not displease Him. Because as I said, true love hates to displease the beloved. And dear folks, that's about it. I have my contact information on there. The website, yeah, it's all correct. So if you need to, I forgot to bring my cards, but if you need to jot down my information, it's up there. If you need any assistance that I can give you, please let me know. Was this helpful?
Absolutely.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being patient and for sharing all your thoughts with me. Assalamu
Does anyone have any questions? I can get the papers around.
If you have any questions, I'm here for a few more minutes. Please ask.
So I have an example. There's a coworker of mine who's married, and he's told me about the verbal abuse he gets from his wife. They don't have any children. He's miserable. There's a lot of other reasons, right? Financial strain on him and so forth. And I just can't get and understand why he doesn't get a divorce. I don't get. Have you encountered those kind of cases where the man is not obligated to stay with the wife because they don't have children, but she's verbally abusive, doesn't support, he holds the financial strain. I mean, there's other things as well, but I can't understand why he would stay with her.
Often that happens because of a couple of reasons. Often that happens because of cultural reasons. Like, I don't want a divorce in my family, regardless of how miserable I am. Women go through the same thing. They're miserable. They're huge personality clashes, but they won't separate because I don't want a bad name coming to my family that there's a divorced girl in their family. What's going to happen to my sisters? Who's going to marry them? That's one reason. The second reason is a true sense of accountability. So, this woman is not nice to me, but I choose to be kind and merciful and be patient with her, because ultimately, if I am, Allah will reward me for that, and maybe Allah will change her heart. And there may be other reasons. Okay, so how would you deal with racism in a marriage, with in-laws and culture and with the community? Psychologically, when somebody does not look like us, talk like us, behave like us, live the same kind of lifestyle that we have the same kinds of, lifestyle values that we do. There generally is prejudice. It's a psychological phenomenon. Unless a person understands and goes beyond the looks, color, and all these other things, and gets to know the person. So this is not uncommon, especially I have come across marriages where somebody married a person from a different cultural background. And how their marriage, although the man and the woman got along well, but their extended families had huge difficulties accepting this. And they would continuously find faults in one spouse or the other. It's a difficult situation. My recommendation to that is that if you are going to marry cross-culture, then you need to truly have premarital counseling and a thorough understanding along with your parents as to how is this going to work before getting into it. That would be my recommendation. Because once it happens, it is difficult to change values of people. You understand what I'm saying? Values of people are very difficult to change. Which is why there is so much prejudice still against the blacks in America. Am I right? It's all over the news. After 300 years. And all the rights and the freedoms that have been written. All the declarations. It's not worth the paper it's written on. Because that has not taken away the prejudice, it has got underground. And we have chosen to behave politically correct. That's the big term these days. Be politically correct. Prejudice will go only when you go beyond the color of the skin and how the person looks and talks to the core of the person. I'm going to give you an example from my own personal life. The way I'm dressed right now, that's how I dressed. That's how I have always dressed, not always, but for many, many years, 30 years. I have worked with all kinds of governments, departments in very high positions, alhamdulillah. But still, because of the way I look, people feel strange. I travel a lot. When people would sit next to me, I would not forget this one incident. This guy, in one time, he sat next to me. I was in the middle seat, and he was on the right side in the aisle seat. All flight long, he sat like this. All 4 hours of it. Right? But I'm the first one to talk because I want people to go beyond the way I look and what I wear. So every time I'm flying out somewhere, I'm the first one to say, "Hey, how are you? Where are you going? Are you living there? Do you live there? Here's what I'm wearing." And you start a conversation. If I don't speak up, they might say, "Oh, he might have just come in as a refugee from Iran, or from Iraq, or from Syria. Oh my God, poor guy." And they might have all kinds of ideas. But once you open your mouth, they're like, "Huh? He talks just like me." How long have you been here? Many years. Where are you from? Canada? No, originally. Originally from not this planet. You found it funny?
I've got a real Irish sense of humor, so yes.
So, you have a sense of humor. If you have a good sense of humor, and you allow people to look beyond the way you look, prejudice is get you. Right? I had a guy, again, sitting in the plane with me, very tall guy from there. A hippie kind of a looking guy. And he sat next to me, and I was dressed in this, and I had all these designs on my thing, and he looks at me and says, "Sir," by the way, they always call me sir. They were, "Sir, are you a priest?" I said, "For God's sake, no, I'm not a priest." "Oh, I'm sorry, it's just the way you are dressed." I said, "Oh, I dress like this crazy all the time." And then we started to talk. 4 hours went away. And at the end of the flight, he said, "I truly wish we meet again." It was so great to get to know you. And I can share with you scores of experiences from my life, from all around the world, where people have warned me, "Oh, don't go in those places, or don't go in that side, oh, make sure the people are not very good there." They are not. I have always found them gentle. Because why? Because you behave like a gentleman with them. If you behave like a caring, loving person, love and care and kindness cannot be conquered. Remember that always. Any other questions? Love and be loved and feel okay about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sadiq, for that very beneficial talk. I'm pretty sure we all got something from it. I just want to thank our sponsors, the Cotton Company, Asaf Law, and Shasha Dental Group, and also to all of our volunteers, my very hardworking team, the SA, and all of you for attending. Thank you very much.